Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karen Shanung. I'm working with CodaBears, and today I'm going to be presenting on converting BAQ reports to SSRS. This will be related to Epicor 10. And the intention of this presentation is to provide a general guideline of the process to move your BAQ reports over to SSRS reports when they probably previously were in Crystal reports. We'll not be going into much detail of using the SSRS report builder or the SQL report builder, but rather just giving you a starting point. Many of the staff at CodaBears are familiar with SSRS reports, and SSRS stands for SQL Server Reporting Services. First, we're going to do a presentation that lists kind of the steps we'll be then following in an Epicor demo. So this first slide outlines the steps that are needed to convert your BAQ reports to SSRS reports. And then each of the additional slides will go through each of these steps in a little more detail, and then we will continue on to the actual demo in Epicor. So as it shows here, you're going to first find an existing BAQ report in Epicor that you want to copy to create a new SSRS report. You're going to either write down or take a picture of the options, filters, and sorts. You're going to then create the same BAQ report using an SSRS report instead of a Crystal report. You're going to add the same options, filters, and sorts to your new BAQ report. Then you're going to test your new BAQ report, making sure SSRS is the report style, and you'll need to get your table GUI ID from System Monitor. You're going to use the BAQ actions to design your SSRS report, and you'll continue designing your SSRS report in Report Builder. So when you're going to find an existing report to copy from Epicor, I suggest that you start with an easier report as your first conversion. And if you are strictly going to duplicate the same report that was done as a BAQ report in Crystal, you won't need to change the BAQ or the business activity query. You will search for and choose an existing report to open, and I suggest you can keep it in the tree view for easy reference while creating a new report. You should write down or take pictures of the options, filters, and sorts listed in the report that you want to copy from. For the options, make sure to review the field, the label, the operator, the data type, default value, and the order. For the filters, mostly you'll only need to know the fields. The labels and tabs will default in with values based off the fields, but you can change them if you'd like. For the sorts, you'll want to copy the name, which is shown in the top half of the screen, along with the sort fields shown on the bottom half of the screen. Now you actually get into creating the same BAQ report using SSRS. What you'll do is copy the BAQ ID first. As we mentioned, if you're not changing any of the data behind the report, you can use the same BAQ ID. Then you're going to create your report ID next, and keep in mind this will be the name of your new SSRS report also. Then you can go ahead and add your report description and your report title, and these can be anything you really wish that's descriptive and will show in your title bar and the description for your BAQ report. Usually I make them the same information. And then you can notice your new report is now on your SSRS report server as a template. We'll show that in the demo. So when you go ahead and add the same options, filters, and sorts to your new BAQ report, the easiest way is to use the copy all on the old report in the grid view, and then go to the new report and use the paste insert. As long as you're using the same BAQ ID, which has all the same fields available, this should work for you, and as long as you have your grid in the same order between the two old and the new BAQ reports. Then you should verify that you have all your settings and that they match. In case you didn't do the copy and paste option and had to do it manually, you should verify that everything is the same. And then you can add any additional options, filters, or sorts that you would like to add to your BAQ report if you would like any additional ones. Next, you're going to go ahead and test your new BAQ report, making sure this SSRS is the report style chosen. So you'll use the action menus from the BAQ Report Designer and choose Test Report Form. It will come up with a Windows criteria box, and you'll fill in the criteria, especially for the filter area. That will give you some data results. On the bottom portion, you want to choose the sort option that you would like and the report style that includes SSRS. Next, you'll go to your system monitor and find the table GUI ID. I have included a picture here of an example, and you can see the BAQ report, and then it has a column way to the right named File Name, and that will show your table GUI ID. In this example, it starts with a 4 and ends with a A. You do not need to include the prefix of report database. So I suggest that you would select from the 4 with that long number all the way through the A and copy that value and paste it into Notepad or another text editor to keep it handy for testing. Next, you're going to use the BAQ actions to design your report. So again, in the BAQ Report Designer, you're going to use the Actions menu and choose Design SSRS Report. You will either need to be on the server that has your SSRS reports installed, or make sure that your administrator has filled in the correct URL under the Actions menu and the item that shows BAQ Report Options. If you're on the server or you have that correct URL filled in, it should all work out, and when you click Design SSRS Report, Epicor will then be opening SQL Report Builder. If for some reason that doesn't work, you can also go ahead and open your SSRS report URL if you know it, and use the Edit in Report Builder option from the report server URL on your own. So finally, you'll be designing your report in SQL Report Builder. You're going to start with a table wizard or inserting a table. You're going to choose fields to include as groups and fields to summarize, etc. You're going to use that table GUI ID that you copied and pasted into Notepad or another text editor to run the report and review the results. You can use expression builders to create a dynamic sort option or dynamic grouping, similar to what you may have done in Crystal reports. Continue building your report as needed, saving along the way. And then, when you are happy with your design so far, you can also go ahead and test your report again in Epicor using the BAQ Report Designer and using the Actions menu and test your report again. Another hint is that you might want to open Crystal if you have Crystal on your Epicor 10 or a previous version of Epicor, just so you can view the formulas, grouping, and summing, etc. that was set up in Crystal for this BAQ report to try to recreate it in the SQL report builder. So that was the end of the actual presentation, and now we'll move on to the Epicor 10 demo. Okay, so now I'm going into Epicor and I'm going to go into the BAQ Report Designer. If you aren't sure how to get there, you can click on the menu tile under System Management and Business Activity Queries, and there's BAQ Report Designer. I already had that menu item open just to have it ready for this presentation. And you can click on the Report ID button to search for any existing BAQ reports. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the receipts not invoiced. So I'm going to select that as my copy from report. And so now we want to take a look at the option fields, and I'll make this bigger so we can see that. And we can see that you have the field label, operator, the data type, the default value, and the order. And the actual field names are over there. In the filters, we have the actual field names in the first column, the labels and the tab labels both default in, but you can go ahead and change them if you would like. And in the sorts tab, we have the name of the sort listed at the top. This shows there's two sorts, the PO and the supplier. And at the bottom would be the sort fields. However, that's usually only if you have more than one value to sort by. In this case, the PO and supplier are self-explanatory. You would sort by the PO or sort by the supplier, so you don't need to show sort fields. But sometimes they might have PO/supplier as the name, and then you would want to sort by those two fields, and then you could have the opposite, supplier/PO as the second sort name, and then you would have those sort fields listed on the bottom in the opposite order. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create our new BAQ report. And as I mentioned, the first step you want to do if you're just making an exact copy is you want to copy your BAQ ID, because you're going to use the same fields and calculated fields, etc., whatever might be in that BAQ ID behind the scenes. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to say new report definition. And notice our old report stays in the tree. So we want to paste our BAQ ID, and then we want to give it a report ID. Here you can name it whatever you'd like. There's a certain number of character limits. I don't know if it's 10 or so. but if you go over the limit, it'll give you a warning and you'll have to start it over. But I'm going to just start my report name with Z so that we can make it easier to find on our custom reports in SSRS. And then I can name it whatever report name I want. I'll name it ZRNI SSRS. So you can see the SSRS report name is automatically filled in based on what you put up top. And now we'll give it a description and the form title. And it's basically receipts not invoiced. And I'm copying and pasting that into the forms title. So once we have that information, we can go ahead and click Save to save our newly created report. And we should find this report now on our SSRS report server. I'm going to open our server URL, and this is where the report would be, and we don't currently see it because it starts with a Z. So what we have to do is refresh the view. So what I'll do is go up a level and then go back to our custom reports, and then there it is at the end, our Z RNI underscore SSRS report. So right now it's basically a template similar to when you worked with creating your BAQ report in Crystal. It had a template that would just have the report header information, some of the page information, etc., but nothing related to the fields is really on the report. So next we're going to go back to our old report and copy all of our options, filters, and sorts. So we go to the options fields and we want to highlight both of the rows and then select copy all, and then we're going to go to our new report, make sure we're in the options tab, right click and choose paste insert. Because we're using the same BAQ ID that's pulling in all the same fields, this will work between the two reports. And we have the same order of our fields to copy from and paste to. I'm going back to the old report, and now I'm going to do the same process for the filters. Copy all, and we're on the filters tab, right click, paste insert. And we'll do that again for the sorts. Select them both, copy all, and make sure we're on the sorts tab in the top half and click paste insert. So now the actual options, filters, and sorts between the old report and the new report exactly match. So we're going to go ahead and save our report again. Oops, I didn't hit the save, I hit the activity stream. Save our report, and we can close the activity stream. There we go, now it's saved. Okay, we want to go ahead and test our report now. And again, we were going to go to the Actions menu and Test Report Form. So the test of the report form just really verifies that you have your report options, your filters, and your sort by set up correctly. So you can see our sort by will have those two options of PO and supplier. We have the 4 fields that we listed in our filters, and in our options fields we listed receipt date from and to as the labels, and then we have dates to fill in. Now, in order to make sure we get some actual data in our report when we have it all set up, I'm going to go ahead and change the receipt date from to the beginning of this year through today, and then I'm going to also filter and choose a select number of POs to make sure that we get some data. And now I wanted to also verify my sort by and my report style, that I show some kind of a report style that ends with SSRS. Usually it will state standard SSRS unless you create another report style and name it something different. So I have all my selections made for testing our report. So I'm going to go ahead and print preview, and eventually that will come up. And in the meantime, we can go to our system monitor and look for our report that we just ran, which was at 358, this top one. And we have to scroll all the way over to the end. And you can drag the column over if you'd like, and then make it bigger so that you can get your table GUI ID. So I right clicked and selected copy, and I'm going to open Notepad and paste that value in there. As I mentioned before, that will be needed when we go into designing the report in SQL Report Builder. So here we can see, even though we put data through there, there is no information shown on our report other than the template information that shows the report header, page information, etc. Nothing for the data fields. So we'll go ahead and close that. And we'll close our testing of the form, and we'll go now to designing the crystal or the SSRS report. So we go back to the BAQ Report Designer and choose Actions menu, and then Design SSRS. And we can see it's opening Report Builder, and we'll have a little icon down on the bottom to indicate Report Builder is open. Before I forget, I wanted to also show you the BAQ Report Options, and here SSRS Web Service URL is what needs to be filled in if you're going to do this anywhere other than on the actual server that has your SSRS reports. And it should look something similar to what we have here, but would include your server name, and the next part of the path may be different also, but should be something pretty similar. So back to Report Builder. It looks like, as we mentioned, it has some information regarding the page header or report header at the top here, and that is what we saw in our print preview. We also can see there is a data source and a data set. And the data set, if you're familiar with Crystal Reports, it is very similar to what was in Crystal Reports, using the tables were in the data set there. And the actual fields that we want to use most of the time are in the BAQ report result. The BAQ report parameter also shows our options and filters and sorts. So you can use them when you need to for grouping or sorting your reports. Okay, so I mentioned that to start with designing your report, we're going to use the insert, and we're going to either insert a table using the table wizard or insert a table just having a blank table that you can put columns in. The easiest way to start with is using the table wizard, and again we want to choose the data source portion that includes the BAQ report result, and then we'll click next. And here we have row groups that we want to include, and I want to include the vendor ID, which is the supplier, and the PO number, which are the two fields we had as our sort by. And then I want to include our calculated days late as a summed value. Okay, so then we say next, and we can choose what kind of a format we'd like to use. One of the preferred ones so far by me is the stepped subtotal above. And then we can choose what kind of a layout you want with the coloring, and just to make it easier to view, etc., I'm going to choose the generic here and then click finish. So basically we have a report with a few fields on it now in SSRS, and we can go ahead and click the run button, and we'll see that Epicor automatically gives you a parameter for the table GUI ID. And we would get that from our notepad file that we had copied and pasted the table GUI ID from System Monitor, and here we can paste it into this parameter that the report is asking for. And then we'll click View the report, and here we can see our report came right up rather quickly, and we can see that it shows the vendors and then the POs, and total for the vendor days late was 36, 16 on this PO and 20 on this PO, and you can see that all that information here if you expand any of the vendor listings here. Okay, so our report looks pretty good. We might want to make changes to it later too, but for now we're going to just start with this, and we're going to save this, and then we're going to go back we're going to close this, and we're going to go back into Epicor in our BAQ report designer. We're going to go ahead and test the report again. So we can either select the same dates, etc., or you can choose different ones. I just didn't really notice what other dates that we should choose that would still include data, so I'm pretty much choosing the same selections. And we can choose our sort by and our report style. So far the sort by isn't really in effect until we put something in our SSRS report to do something with that field. but we still have the standard SSRS report, and we're going to print preview. Now this time we won't just see the template when it pops up. We'll see data similar to like what we saw in the SSRS report builder or SQL report builder. So we can see the vendors and the calculated days late. So this verifies that our report will now work within Epicor, and you can continue to work this way, again going to actions and design the report to make any further changes that you'd like. And I also mentioned that you could do it within your URL for the report. If it didn't work from your BAQ report designer, you can click this down arrow that's available and click, and that's based on your security for SSRS. You might not have it available, but if you have the correct security for it, you will have that down arrow, and then you can choose edit and report builder, and it will bring you to the same place. Oh, okay, evidently it'll ask you first if you want to download the report builder, and then it will bring you to the same place. You can see this is our familiar report. So you can drag and drop whatever fields you want to on the report, or use the wizard to add additional fields, etc. But for now, this was the full topic that we planned on discussing today in our Lunch and Learn. So I thank you all for attending today's Lunch and Learn.